Hey Outlaws, we are talking about Conan the Barbarian. Where is this iconic franchise today? Where is it going? Where has it been? There's so many questions here. Honestly, the peak of Conan the Barbarian has kind of come and gone, unfortunately, but it still holds its roots today, especially when you think about specific scenes in Berserk. If you don't know what scene I'm talking about, just pull up number 1 Berserk, open up the very, very first page, and then you'll poof, see it. Guts just getting work done on a demon lady. Anyways, so that scene actually came from, and someone pointed this out to me, Bjorn Smith, thank you, sir, pointed out that, hey, that is actually a scene that alludes to another scene when Conan the Barbarian goes to a witch and does hanky-panky with her in order to get information. Good times. So, Conan the Barbarian. Who is the most known person for Conan the Barbarian? Like, now, if you're not talking about the Sumerian by Howard, we know Arnold Schwarzenegger. We know that guy. So this is one of his biggest roles that actually made him stand out. Now, they say the movie wasn't a very big success. Money-wise, it was a box office success, but they said with the critics, it wasn't so much. Well, yeah, critics back then, they wanted their slim-looking dudes with guns that whip out, the James Bond types. So big, giant Arnold Schwarzenegger swinging around his ridiculously undersized sword just supposedly wasn't really going to work out well with audiences. But quite the opposite, actually, as it turns out. That is quite a huge success and remains a huge success to this day. So much so that just 4 days ago, Screen Rant still publishing an article about it, basically saying why Conan the Barbarian proved so many people wrong about Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you guys aren't aware, Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of came to the United States from Austria, obviously during the peak, beginning of his bodybuilding career, because he wanted to get bigger, and also because he wanted to be a star. And then one day he wanted to be president of the United States, which you cannot be the president of the United States if you were not a natural-born citizen, which we won't get into that today. Anyways, so came here. A lot of different movies knocked out by him, but Conan the Barbarian is what made him stand out the most. Now, I will agree with this article that Conan the Destroyer, not the best. I thought it was kind of goofy. Obviously, it would have been cool if they kept going with it. But I can understand why it wasn't such a huge box office hit success. I'd also point out, too, that it just wasn't... That one and the follow-up one where they did the horrible Red Sonja was just... it's awful. It just didn't have what the Sumerian normally had. It didn't have the adult themes into it. It didn't have the action, the adventure, the women, all that stuff that actually makes Conan the Barbarian stand out. The very, very adult themes. It was just more hokey and silly and it just didn't work. Okay, so where is it? Where is it today? The biggest example of Conan the Barbarian being relevant in today's media is Conan Exiles. I've played it with me, Jenny. We played it with one of our friends. It's great, especially if you have a community of people that want to work together. You can have a great old time. Super adult game, so make sure the kiddies are not playing it because it is definitely not for them. You see everything. You have to activate everything on your server, but you see it all. But then again, that's fine. I'm fine with it. If I'm an adult, I want to see adult stuff. So, in there, you go on crazy adventures. You fight huge demons. You explore entire maps. The maps aren't super packed with stuff to do. Don't expect the most outstanding and outrageous video game of all time. But if you're playing with some friends, especially if you've got a lot of lady friends, you'll do just fine. Anyways, it's also pretty cool with the action, murder, and mayhem. You can actually even build giant castles, summon huge gods, and gather groups of armies after you beat them over the head and have them go through your very extensive intern program by going around in a circle in a wheel for many, many hours until they're just super eager to come work for your business. You can actually gather them as an army, go out one-on-one, or if somebody attacks your base, then they'll rise up and attack, although I will argue and point that the thralls do have their limitations, what they can handle. But I see in these screenshots here...
Fabulous Carl.
Yes, we had one thrall named Fabulous Carl who had a very, very, very flamboyant and fabulous outfit with a hat.
With a feather.
When we got ambushed by a bunch of ice giant things, he was the last one to die.
He was fabulous.
Including us. We died before he did. He stood his ground. And then this game, so basically Conan Exiles 2, you can be a necromancer like you see right here, raise the dead. You could be a enchantress, a dancer. You can go collect dancers if that's your thing. All sorts of stuff. You could build huge palaces, castles. You can ride rhinoceroses, fight like undead dragons, fight undead people, fight sorcerers, witches. You can become a sorcerer or witch yourself. It's actually quite a great game, and I would definitely recommend it if somebody wants to try it out. So that's where most recent it's currently at. Now, Conan the Barbarian, didn't do so great with the most recent film, Conan the Barbarian of 2011. I'm sure most people don't remember it. I'm sure women remember Jason Momoa. How could they not? Him flexing his stuff over here. Here's a little picture of him and his outfit. Looking like he got sprayed in the face with raspberry jam. The movie obviously didn't do that fantastic. I don't particularly remember it too well, so it must have not have made a very good impact upon myself. There's that actor, whatever, I can't remember his name. It was okay. It wasn't the best thing ever. Now, Conan the Barbarian is a wiki page, not the best information. I don't consider Wikipedia the best source of information, but whatever, it's something quick I could find. So, Conan is a Sumerian, as we hear in the movie, and also in the game, we pick the game, you can pick all sorts of different races. But what's interesting is, as it says right here, the writings of Robert E. Howard, particularly his essay, The Hyborian Age, suggests that his Sumerians are based on the Celts, Irish, Scottish too a little bit, or perhaps the historic Sumerians. Okay? Now, who are the Sumerians? Boom, Sumerian. Member of an ancient people living north of the Caucasus and the Sea of Azov, driven by the Scythians out of southern Russia, over the Caucasus and into Anatolia toward the end of the 8th century BC. And you see that they fought quite a bit, they repulsed, pushed back, fought, so on and so forth. So one thing I liked about Conan 2 is, what I'm getting my point to, is that it has also a lot of good history, like type of like acceptable race politics into it, adult themes, and a wide diverse. It still has a pretty huge world when it comes to fantasy that's very adult, very cutthroat, very unforgiving. It is not ideal based, almost no ideal based whatsoever. Now, they do have beliefs in gods, of course, Krom being the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about the most, but also being the god that doesn't give a crap about you, too. But it has a lot of background. It does have quite a bit of human history, too, and tells a little bit on the race politics and different types of cults, beliefs, that sort of thing, which is why I really thoroughly enjoy it. Now, going back to that, so obviously this whole history of Conan the Barbarian, it's not the best. his village is wiped out and killed, and then he is basically turned into a slave by the people that went and picked him up. And he becomes a huge, awesome warrior by 15, and then he fights his way out of it, so on and so forth. So it's a pretty savage world to live in, Conan the Barbarian. We were really, the main audience was really first introduced to him through Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie. Kind of wrap this up. The modern day Conan really just lives through Conan Exiles. There are some comic books, some that we're going to review on this channel as well. But predominantly just the video game. The more recent movies, not that great. Nobody really talks about it. And then the history of Conan, of course, is closely tied to the history of humanity. Also with the Caucasus and northern Russia, and then basically the group of Sumerians moving around. Now, one last bit before we start off is that, again, touching a little bit on human history, is that etymology, when it comes to Conan, it's actually an Irish name as well. So kind of like whether or not Conan was related to the Celts, yes or no, not 100% certain on that. But they also believe that Conan is more like, not Arabic, but Iranian, like kind of like Palestinian, like Middle Eastern in his actual ethnicity when it comes to the actual game itself, which I kind of lean more towards and agree, especially with the more modern version of him. And when you see him in the video game as well, he definitely resembles that particular race. Anyways, this was just a quick introduction. Welcome, Conan, to the channel. We want to cover it. I think it fits beautifully in Digitally Twisted Outlaws. It gives us more stuff to talk about. That way we can engage more with you all. And I believe it's something that many people are interested in. See y'all next time.